I made it clear to the President Putin that if he makes any more moves and goes into Ukraine, we will have severe sanctions.
President Biden is set to speak with the president of Ukraine today after he says he warned Vladimir Putin of the, quote, heavy price of a potential Ukraine invasion during their phone call last week. Our next guest says Russia is testing the Biden administration with their military buildup. Let's bring in former CIA station chief who served in Moscow and Fox News contributor Dan Hoffman to discuss. Welcome, Dan. Happy New Year. So what do you think of this situation? The president says that Russia will pay a very high price for this. What does that mean? And do you think that Putin is scared?
Well, I think Vladimir Putin is following a very coldly calculated strategy here. It certainly was not lost on the Kremlin when the Biden administration said that they wanted a stable and predictable relationship with Russia. For Vladimir Putin, who was a KGB operative and trained in understanding how his adversaries think, that was an opportunity. And so Putin did the exact opposite. He massed 100,000 troops on Ukraine's border, put them in a chokehold, and now he's trying to extort the United States and NATO into recognizing Russia's historical sphere of influence. Already our allies are nervous about it because they saw what happened in Afghanistan, where we really didn't consult our NATO allies, even though they had 4 times as many troops in Afghanistan as we did. And right now, President Biden is forced to talk to Ukrainian President Zelensky on the phone. He did that in early December, and he's doing it again today to reassure Zelensky. But it's really unconscionable that Ukraine doesn't have a seat at the table where their fate is being decided.
What do you mean they don't have a seat at the table? Explain that further.
Well, what Vladimir Putin wants to do is to solve these issues as President Roosevelt and Stalin did at Yalta in directly with the United States. Even though Russia itself is a party to the conflict, Russia doesn't want to include Ukraine in the negotiations and prefers to negotiate solely with President Biden and is seeking a guarantee that NATO will not expand further. In fact, Russia has already prepared a draft agreement for the United States and for NATO, and we'll see how the United States responds next week on 10 January when the diplomatic process really begins in earnest, when Deputy Secretary Wendy Sherman meets with Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Rybkov.
Also explain to me why the American people should care about this issue. Why is this important? It seems like for many Americans maybe watching the show right now, they think maybe this is a European problem. Why is it an American problem?
Well, Russia is an American problem. Russians interfered in our elections. They've launched massive cyber attacks, including SolarWinds. They allow cyber hacking groups to homestead on their territory. They invaded Georgia and continue to occupy Georgia. They invaded Ukraine. That has an impact on our NATO partners. It has an impact on free trade. If we don't stand up for the territorial integrity of Ukraine and their efforts to build a democracy, I'm not so sure we stand for much of anything at all. I would recall President Reagan invoking John Winthrop's City on a Hill. Democracy matters, and it doesn't mean we have to send troops to Ukraine, but we can shore up their defenses with more military assistance and greater diplomatic support.
All right. Interesting perspective. Thank you so much, Dan. Really appreciate it. And again, Happy New Year.
Thanks. Happy New Year.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.